Gear Tasting Radio is brought to you by Imminent Threat Solutions. ITS provides knowledge that empowers individuals with indispensable skill sets to explore the world and prevail against all threats. Right now, as a special thank you for all podcast listeners, we're offering 10% off in the ITS store. Simply use the code GTR to save 10% at store.itstactical.com. Welcome to Gear Tasting Radio, where we offer an in-depth look into the usage and philosophy behind the equipment in our lives. I am Brian Black, joined by Rob Henderson.
Hello.
And today we are going to talk home automation. So we had an idea for this topic. We both have purchased things around the house that are so-called smart items.
Sometimes not so smart.
Yeah, sometimes not so smart. But we wanted to talk about not only the implication of installing things like that around your home and the positives, but also the negatives and the security implications that come along with them. So as you know, we're pretty security focused here on ITS, not only with the lockpicking stuff we do, but just the security assessment type stuff we talk about and protecting your home and things like that. So wanted to approach it from the smart device angle today. So now you just installed...
Yeah, I just went crazy.
You just went hog wild.
Well, so I've been waiting for a long time to start getting devices that are Apple HomeKit enabled.
That's what you're waiting for?
That's what I want to.
Okay.
I want to go with HomeKit.
But did you buy stuff that wasn't HomeKit?
I bought one thing that's not HomeKit, but they don't have a HomeKit device for this thing. Yeah, so I wanted to because I really like how Apple considers privacy and everything they do, and I like Apple devices, obviously. So I was it was like a prerequisite for the things that I bought to have HomeKit capability. So I went with like Philips Hue light bulbs. There was a Yale lock that I bought that has it. The only thing that doesn't is the new doorbell I got. And currently there is no HomeKit-enabled doorbell on the market. And that's a bummer. But yeah. I really wanted a doorbell.
I wonder if that's Apple saying we don't see one yet that meets our standards.
Well, so apparently Ring has had the ability to make HomeKit a thing for a couple years now. And Apple has even said, like, yeah, no, we're good with it. They just haven't. So I'm not sure. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about was, like, with this, you almost kind of have to pick an ecosystem to be in. Because from what I've seen, it's very difficult to have cameras from one company, light bulbs from another company, this from this. And it's if you don't have something that can bring it all together, it can be a little frustrating. So
first, I think what we need to touch on is the security implication of smart devices, but really kind of the overarching principle of how to protect those devices on your network, because what those can do if configured wrong or put on an open network is they can lead people into those devices to either control them remotely or to get into your network and then eventually your computers and things that run on Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
and that's the dangerous part of these smart devices. But that's not to say you can't use them and just take the right steps to protect your home, with them. So, like I had actually got some advice from Matt Filler when he came and stayed at my house because I had all my smart devices on a guest network, and he goes, well, why did you have them on a guest network? And this is me being stupid, but I'm going to tell the story because it was a ridiculous assumption. But I thought, okay, well, if I put them on the guest network, then if somebody hacks into my network, it'll be the guest network. And therefore, if they're trying to control them, they at least can't use those devices to get into my regular protected network that my computers run on. So he said, yeah, you got a point, but however, it's better if you just go ahead and put those on the protected side and just leave the guest network as a guest network and not let, people have access to it. He goes, because now that I have your guest network password, I'm able to see those devices. And I go, oh, I didn't even think about that. So you
turn your lights on them.
I go, well, I would have to, trust the person that hacked into my network first. Well, sure. And he goes, yeah, well, it can happen.
Yeah, so
I was like, I don't trust you anymore, Matt.
I mean, that's one of the things is like network security is difficult, and it's kind of like you can take the wrong step. But the biggest things I've seen is disallowing remote management of your main router. A lot of people want to be able to see what their router's doing when they're away from home, which is fine. But if you open a tunnel to your router, the tunnel's open. Correct. So the other thing I see people do is broadcasting their SSID on their router. So when you look for lists of Wi-Fi networks, your network shouldn't show up.
Yep.
And you can do that by not broadcasting your SSID. And it depends on the router, but most of them will give you the ability to do that. It sucks when somebody comes over to say, like, what's the Wi-Fi? It's like, well, now you have to give them the SSID and the password. But
and see, I don't mind my guest network SSID showing up because it's protected now. I don't have anything on it now.
Right.
I mean, I took Matt's advice and I did that, which I'll get into this right now. I have
no delay.
I have Nest Protects for my smoke alarms.
Okay.
So I've been slowly upgrading. So I mean, they're like $100 a piece, which is super expensive, and I've got like 6 around my house. So what I've decided to do is every time I change the clocks, I go on Amazon and make a purchase for another one.
Oh, there you go.
Like that's
a good idea.
That's my. I don't want to rush it.
Your smoke detector tax.
Yeah, which I keep looking in disgust at the ones that aren't Nest. But however, I'm a little miffed about them. And this is actually a good piece of advice because I learned this the hard way, and I want to pass along to anybody that's thinking about Nest Protects or is using them. When you're putting the device on the ceiling, take a picture of the actual barcode ID number that's on the actual Protect, because if you ever have to change the network that they're on, which I had to do, you have to take down every single Nest Protect and re-add them to the network. And you have to do it manually. You can't do it remotely like when they're on the ceiling. You have to physically take them down, and you have to go through that whole setup process over again. I mean, it took me an hour and a half, so it's not a joke.
Yeah, that's painful.
Yeah, and I was on the phone with the Nest rep going, "Are you kidding me? This issue's like, yeah, we're looking for a better solution." I'm like, "Oh, yeah." But
look faster.
Yeah. So, and that's horrible because lots of people replace modems a lot. And this is actually, something we talked about too, which is a good thing to bring up, is that I was relying on my cable provided modem to power all that stuff. I still had a guest network set up. I knew how to go into that modem and configure everything. But again, if the cable company ever comes to replace that modem, guess what? You lose all your stuff. So your SSID changes. You have to go through the Nest debacle that I went through with the Protects. So what I did is I actually bought one of those Orbi routers. It's the new hotness. They're the best thing since sliced bread. It's like a mesh network, which is just amazing. So what I did is I put that in front of my modem. So the modem, it just outputs directly to the Orbi, and then the Orbi is where all my settings are. So that's where I control my guest network. That's where I control my SSID, and everything is controlled through that. So that if my modem has to get replaced, it's just a modem. It's not configured at all, so to speak. I mean, yes, it's still protected, but it's not configured with information.
Yeah, I just got an Orbi too, and I have to say, I've had a lot of routers through the years. It replaced a TP-Link router that I had. And one of the big benefits is that TP-Link router already had a custom SSID. So on the Orbi, all I had to do was say, this is the custom SSID. And so I didn't have to reset any of my devices.
Oh, that's
which
cool.
was super cool.
Nice.
But the Orbi
it took all your settings?
Yeah. The Orbi has the best settings.
Is it because it was Netgear as well?
No, because I had TP-Link. It was just the same SSID.
Oh, okay.
And so I set the same SSID and password so that when the device, like an Apple TV, tried to connect, it already had the username and password.
That's a good idea, too.
But the Orbi has the best settings of any router I've ever seen. It's quick. You don't have to, or you don't see it reboot in the background and stuff. Changing router settings has always been such a pain.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Orbi's been great. If you take one thing away from this, it's get a mesh network because it's awesome. There's no Wi-Fi dead zones per se. It just works by using 1 or 2 different satellites to kind of help your house have whole coverage.
Yeah, I had a problem in my house with dead spot in my office, and that fixed it because I bought a different model than you bought. It's still the same, I guess, modem / router, but then mine has mine has 2 like satellite devices that plug into the wall, and yours just has a satellite device that's almost the same as the
it looks exactly
router.
The same.
Yeah. So that's the difference, and I went with those because I saw the reviews saying that those were better for dead zones, in corners of houses and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I needed to beef it up because when you have light bulbs that now have Wi-Fi, you have to kind of mitigate that.
So I was an early adopter with the, it wasn't Philips Hue, it's whoever they copied. They had a Kickstarter. Why can't I remember the name of that? LifeX is what they were called.
Okay.
So I bought those on Kickstarter. There was 2 bulbs, and I bought them on Kickstarter. and this was a long time ago. This was, I mean, in relative speaking, in the internet world, this was a long time ago. Probably
at the dawn,
7 years ago or something like that. But, you know, they eventually shipped. It took them forever to develop the technology. But literally within 6 months of those coming out, Philips came out with their Hues because they just completely piggybacked them, you know, on Kickstarter. Just stole their tech. But, you know, hey, that's life, I guess. But those have been upgraded now, which is cool. So even my old bulbs still work with their current application.
Oh, great!
So
That's
I could use those on with Amazon if I wanted to. I just don't have them on that. I haven't gotten into that whole Siri Amazon world.
Yeah, I didn't think I was gonna like it, but it's pretty amazing.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of kicking and screaming because I've got some smart devices and I just don't have them automated yet, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like, they're smart and they can, you know, one of the reasons that I even got the Nest Protect is because I was tired of taking the broom and hitting the freaking smoke detector when I burn bacon or something in the kitchen, which actually happened quite a bit because we had a crappy, whatever you call it, filter above the oven.
Oh, okay. The hood.
Yeah.
It doesn't pull enough of the smoke out. Yeah.
Right. And I actually upgraded that, so now it's not a problem. But I had already upgraded the Nest and then kind of started going down that road. And yeah. But anyway, it's really cool because you can silence them from your phone and things like that. So
the automation is the biggest part for me. So one of the things that I never really considered is how much dimmable lights are great. So I've replaced the 3 main rooms that we use with all Hue. So every bulb in the room is a Hue. Not every bulb gets used at the same time. So I have like the main overhead lights that don't usually come on until I'm looking for something on the ground or whatever. But to have those be dimmable while you're watching a movie or something is super cool. And the Hues will dim anywhere from in steps of like 10%. So you can go 10% all the way up to 100. But the biggest thing I've noticed is HomeKit enables you to do these, what they call scenes. And so I have one set that's called About to Leave. And when I say my assistant's name, I won't say it because it'll trigger people's, but I'll say the assistant, I'll say I'm about to leave. It will turn off all the lights and it will unlock the front door. So that as I'm leaving, I can just open the front door and leave. And then
I love how you thought about unlocking the front door to leave.
Because I don't want to have to unlock my deadbolt. Well, and so it's all these little things.
First world problems.
Like
I gotta unlock my deadbolt every time I go outside.
Well, if I'm gonna have an automated lock,
I know,
I'm gonna, you know. But like the front porch light, it comes on at 8:30, it goes off at 9:30.
Yep.
It's automated, and you don't have to think about it. And so I'm eager to see how much of these scenes I can set. So that's, for me, the pro. The big con is that I now have kitchen lights that are 100% controlled by Hue, and if you turn the switch off, they stop working. So I can't turn the switch off in the kitchen, which is unbelievably inconvenient if you get up in the middle of the night to get some water or something and you don't bring your phone with you, because then you can't ask your assistant to turn the lights on.
There's the problem.
So what I did is I bought the Philips Hue light switch, which I will stick on the wall next to my regular light switch. So basically, I just created like a problem loop for myself.
Oh my God. I kind of want to see that on a flow chart. If bulb, yeah. Well, we have some can lights, and I don't know if Philips Hue or any other smart light bulb makers make something that's can light size, like, you know, like a...
Oh, like the floodlight looking
Yeah, like
ones.
a floodlight. Yeah. So it's that size bulb, which I actually just went through the house, I don't know, probably a year ago and replaced everything with LEDs. So everything in our house now is LED, which is great. Definitely cut down our electricity bill.
Yeah.
But we actually had timers on our exterior lights already, because you can buy wall timers that just replace the switch, basically. And they're great. You just have to set them manually, and if the power, if the power goes out, they have an internal battery. But at the same time, if something happens, you still have to go through and reprogram them sometimes.
Okay. So if it's a loss of power, they basically lose their memory of time.
Yeah, I actually got irritated because I kept having to reprogram them, because some didn't do daylight savings time and some did. We had 3 of them. So the one that runs the lights by the garage was a separate one, and so when I'd go through and program, I had to learn 3 different ways of programming the switches. I'm like, this is stupid. I'm just going to buy 3 new freaking switches that are all the same, that all do daylight savings time, and then I won't ever have to mess with them again. And sure enough, I haven't had to touch them. So
that's good.
Yeah.
That was another option that I had looked at is they do make smart switches.
Yep.
So rather than, because right now the Hue bulbs are controlled at the bulb. So you have to leave whatever you're powering on and it will turn itself off. But they do make, I can't remember the name, Casa Vita or something, makes a smart switch that's Wi-Fi. So basically it just toggles the switch on and off, which I didn't go that route. I still might, but I just saw that Hue was kind of the, like you said, they kind of took the tech and are kind of a leader right now. And that's one of the things I do have some, I don't know, worries about is what happens if Philip Hughes just decides, hey, we're going to stop.
Well,
what do I do?
One thing, too, is that, like, I have those timers from a security aspect, so I like my exterior lights to stay on 24/7. However, I've been thinking about adding some floodlights on the side of the house, and we've got a camera system. However, I want to add something in the floodlight that's got a camera too, just to have multiple angles of protection. And I already have overlapping protection. That's something that I went through and did as the guys were putting in the cameras. I kind of like directed the angles.
I want it to go here.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I mean, it was a large undertaking because I at my old house, I did it myself. So I bought the camera system, installed it all myself, and I was like, I'm not doing that again. I'm actually going to buy good cameras this time, not the ones from Fry's Electronics. So anyway.
Fry's is not a sponsor, obviously.
But so that's something to pay attention to, too, just kind of veering off a little into the home security aspect is that you want to make sure your fields of fire overlap, so to speak. So wherever your camera is pointed, you want to make sure if someone screws with that camera, that they're going to get caught on a second camera screwing with that camera. So that's something I always think about too. But anyway, back to the floodlight thing. Like I want to add some more lights that are automatic like that come on, and I do want them to be smart because I want them to be camera specific so that I can look exactly at that device that just kicked on. So I've been looking at Ring stuff. However, Ring, so what was it? Nest has, I can't remember if it's Nest or Ring that has the camera on the floodlight type system. I think it's
Ring.
Is it Ring? Because I know one does and one doesn't.
Yeah.
And I think that was the reason I didn't upgrade my doorbell to the Nest.
Yeah.
Because I have a Ring doorbell too, which is the best thing since sliced bread. However, I was having problems with it, and sure enough, when I switched out to the mesh network, the problem went away because it was a Wi-Fi signal issue.
Yep.
So.
And I think a lot of that is a Wi-Fi signal issue. The Orbeez are tri-band, so it'll determine where the device should sit on the spectrum, and it'll give it the right speed. So, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So the doorbell is cool. For those of you that don't know about the Ring doorbell, and now Nest makes a doorbell too. But what's great about these is they not only offer two-way communication even when you're away from home. So meaning you can treat it like a speaker, basically, a speaker system to actually talk to someone through the doorbell, which is cool. Because I've had somebody come want a signature on a package before, and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm not home.
I'm in the bathroom.
Yeah. I'm like, can I just talk to you? And
you
just leave it? And they're like, no, I can't do that. I'm like, okay.
So you need your auto pen attachment.
I know, right? Anyway, it's probably coming. Trust me.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Anyway, so not only can you talk to somebody, but you get that live video feed, but you set a perimeter, basically, that you draw out within the app, and you tell it when this threshold is crossed or something moves within this threshold, start recording and notify me that there's motion detected, which is the coolest thing ever.
Yep.
Because I've definitely come across some stuff that has been questionable that has happened in front of my house that the Ring has picked up on. And that's the problem with camera systems. You can set camera systems to do that too, to where they're motion detectable and they'll start recording once motion's detected. However, it's tough to really, there's so many things around the home that move.
Right.
It's kind of it really just needs to be recorded all the time, and that's how I have mine. So I don't really have a notification, so to speak, on that kind of stuff. So that's why I wanted to do those floodlights too, is to kind of get the notification angle with those as well. And
one of the things on the Nest that I really like is the Nest does both. So it records all the time, but then it also gives you a notification when the motion is detected. So if it's outside of its motion realm, I like it because if there was a car accident or something in front of the house, it would catch it.
Yeah.
But then I had to learn to turn on Do Not Disturb hours because I kept getting notifications for cats pooping in my flower beds. That was a little inconvenient, but we're working the kinks out of it.
And I think that's the one thing we discussed being the difference between or so far that we've been able to tell between the Nest and the Ring, is that the Nest records constantly, whereas the Ring just records on motion, which it actually records a few seconds before the motion is detected, which I don't know how it does that, but it does it.
It's probably caching it, and then it just accesses it when it's told.
Right.
That probably uses a lot less data, though, and I haven't seen how much data I'm going to eat up. I know ISPs are starting to get sensitive towards how much data people are using, and the Nest has promised to not use over 120 gigabytes a month of upload. That's a lot. But that's upload, which is okay, because upload, I think, is less strenuous to them than download. But yeah, it's still a tremendous amount of data. The Ring, that's what I like, too, is that all that data is stored in the cloud, so I can actually send it to somebody, because I've had to send that footage before. So I can actually link to that video on the app and actually send it to someone that doesn't already have a Ring account, and I can show them that video feed, which is cool. It's super cool.
Perfect for reporting it to the police. If you have video footage from something like a burglary, it's perfect for that. But it costs $30 a month or $30 a year for that cloud storage. It's like $3 a month or $30 a year, which is not bad.
No, not at all. And so I got the Nest doorbell because I got that electronic lock. We didn't have a HomeKit doorbell, but I wasn't going to put an electronic lock on the door without having some form of monitoring the lock.
And why did you go with the Nest one instead of the Ring?
Curious. Bigger, or it has a 1080p camera versus 720, I think. And then I don't know if we talked about facial recognition. So the Nest does facial recognition.
That's scary.
Yeah, I know. But which is kind of cool because it can alert you whether or not somebody is recognized or not coming up to the door. One of the things,
there's a stranger at your door.
Stranger danger. One of the things on this lock is you can issue passcodes to people, and you can revoke or grant.
That's cool.
If you got somebody coming over, hey, use this 1234 as your passcode to get in.
I like that.
Right, and then you can revoke it, which is nice. But I didn't want to put an electronic lock on the door without being able to monitor it. So if somebody was trying to defeat it or something, I could see them on the camera, which was nice.
Yeah, I think it's really a double-edged sword with that kind of stuff, because if you go with a beefed up multi-lock or an abloy lock on your front door that's the key can't be duplicated unless you send it in, it's got a serial number, whatever the case is, most locks are defeatable. However, it's going to severely slow down, and I always say this about security: all security is just buying time. So whether or not you have an electronic lock or a physical lock, if somebody wants in your house, they're going to get in your house. It's just a matter of how many things do you have in place to slow them down or to stop them. So the idea is to make them give up and go look for a softer target, because yours is too hard. Yeah, that's what she said. Yeah. Anyway, but that's kind of the deal with those locks, is that I don't think there's anything wrong with them as long as you know the tech's secure. So I mean, if you do your research and say, okay, I'm going to look into, are there any defeats for this? Is there public information out there that's saying that this lock is, easily defeatable? Is there a method online that's readily available showing how to defeat it? That's the kind of thing that I would look for, is just to do research on it. And I don't think that I've come across anything on that Yale yet.
No, and the best part about the Yale for me is that it gives me a push notification anytime it's locked or unlocked. So if somebody was able to spoof a code and it unlocked, it would tell me it was unlocked, which is cool. And
that is neat.
Then the security system on the inside is the thing that I kind of have, like you said, with layers. It's always... That's always something that's important to consider. It's like, it's not just the lock.
And Yale is an actual really good, reputable company when it comes to technology and security, whereas like Kwikset and Schlage and things like that have kind of run-of-the-mill security. Those are the common household locks that are easily bypassed and picked and things like that too. So even those smart locks that you can rekey from, I think, Kwikset are super...
Yeah, that's weird.
There's a lot of exploits on those out there that exist. So
it's good because HomeKit also has a secure device authentication. So you have to unlock the phone before you can unlock the door. So you could turn my lights on and off with my phone through Siri without unlocking the phone, but if you ask it to unlock the door, it's going to have you authenticate.
Yeah.
Which I think is a really great feature, because if somebody did steal your phone and happen to know where you live, I think you have bigger problems, but at least they wouldn't just be able to unlock the door.
Well, I mean, even the good thing about, relying on the phone to, be the hub of all this stuff is that if your phone's stolen now, you can lock it down, you can remote wipe it.
Exactly.
Like there's so many things that exist within at least the Apple ecosystem that I know about. I'm not familiar enough with Android to speak to that, but I know that at least in the Apple ecosystem you can do all that stuff, which is good. But Yeah, it's a brave new world.
It is. I kind of like it because it gives me peace of mind when I'm not at home.
Yeah.
Did I lock the front door? Well, you can see if it's locked.
Yes.
Is somebody at the door? It'll show you.
Right. And that's what you have to ask yourself. Do the positives of having that stuff outweigh the potential negatives or side effects of having the technology in your home? So I would say yes. I mean, I'm starting to lean that way. I wasn't originally in that camp.
Initially distrustful.
Yes, I really was. But as time has gone on and I've researched the devices and type in the word exploit. That's the best thing to do is Google your device plus exploit.
You want as few results as possible.
Yes, find out what's out there if you're looking into things like that. So that's my advice. And then also really think about what we talked about with, protecting your network, getting on a mesh network, putting that in front of your regular modem that is issued from the cable company. So would highly recommend that. Take our advice, heed our mistakes. That's what this is all about. This has been Gear Tasting Radio. How's the best sign off yet? All right, thanks for listening to Gear Tasting Radio. I think we promised them questions, didn't we?
Oh man, we did.
You know what? We had this great question today.
We had already recorded this episode before we promised that, right?
We say it every episode, but seriously, if you have questions, send them in. Use the #Gear Tasting on any social media network, and we will answer them here on this show. We've also got questions over coffee now, so we will look for your question.
And you can win a bag of coffee.
Yes,
that's
a new thing.
Yeah.
Avoca Coffee, straight out of Fort Worth, Texas. Our favorite coffee in the world. Local, available online, and we're not just saying that. We are customers. It's great coffee, seriously. But anyway, thanks for listening to the podcast. If you can do us a favor and head to iTunes or Apple Podcasts, whatever it's called now, and leave us a review and a rating, we would very much appreciate it. It helps us get the show out to new sets of ears. And I always struggle with that part because I want to say
new
eyes.
Yeah.
It's really
new
ears. Yeah. Open your ear holes. And share the goodness. Anyway, if you could leave us a 5-star review, that would very much increase our likelihood of getting seen by new ear holes. So I would very much appreciate that. We would very much appreciate that. Last but not least, check out our membership. We've got details in the episode intel, and we will also put in the episode intel some home security type articles and digital security stuff, since we talked about both of those things in the show today. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.